The movie opens up with a guy named Dave Lockwood, who is married and has 3 children, including twins and an older daughter. He is awakened by the cries of his twins from another room. Dave heads in, like it's the 7th circle of hell, and proceeds to change their diapers. During this process, the babies create a mess. One squirts milk powder onto Dave's face, and the other excretes directly onto him. An image I will never be able to forget. Despite this, he manages to change the diapers and brings them to the living room while feeding them milk. The next morning, Dave heads to work, where he's approached by a law associate named Sabrina. She hands him some files, and during their interaction, he notices a tattoo on her forearm. Furthermore, he stares at her admiringly as she walks away, and his secretary catches him red-handed. Later, Dave receives a call from his best friend Mitch Planko, who is still single and lives in a messed-up apartment. Mitch has been doing bong rips and playing with swords. A pitch-perfect 2000s image of a single 30-year-old. They haven't seen each other in a while due to Dave's busy schedule with work and his children. Mitch reminds Dave of their plans for the evening, which the latter had completely forgotten. Nevertheless, he pretends to remember and agrees to meet up later. As soon as they hang up, Mitch receives an unexpected visit from his father, who is disappointed with his son's lifestyle. He sarcastically says that he's proud of Mitch for quitting school to become a commercial model. Mitch asks him why he's there, to which his father informs him that he's remarrying. He invites Mitch to the wedding, but Mitch denies. Later in the evening, Dave is giving his twin children a bath when his wife Jamie returns home from work. She reminds him about their scheduled dialogue night appointment, but Dave has forgotten this as well. It turns out their counselor urged them to have a private conversation once a week, but they haven't done so in 3 months. Dave apologizes and requests Jamie postpone it one more time. A little while later, Mitch picks up Dave, and the 2 friends head to a bar. There, they enjoy their drinks while watching a baseball game. Before long, their conversation turns to life matters. Dave inquires about Mitch's dating life, and the latter proceeds to share his experiences with various women he's been involved with. He even shows Dave a picture of his current intimate partner, Tatiana. Seeing this, Dave comments on how she reminds him of beautiful Sabrina. He begins to contemplate whether he made the wrong choices in life by settling down early and taking on a 9-to-5 job when he could have had the freedom like Mitch. However, Mitch counters this by expressing envy for Dave's life, pointing out that Dave is already on his own ground and has a loving family that prevents him from feeling lonely. Let's not forget there's a third type of guy out there, being single in your 30s and not looking like Mitch. Upon exiting the bar in a drunk state, they make their way to a nearby fountain to relieve themselves. During this, they wish that they had each other's lives. Just then, the city's lights go out for a moment. The following morning, Mitch awakens beside Jamie, who's breastfeeding a baby. This startles him, and he wakes up with a bewildered expression. Upon looking in the mirror, he is shocked to discover that he now possesses Dave's body. On the other hand, the real Dave is asleep at Mitch's apartment when he is awakened by a knock on the door. Upon answering it, he finds his own body standing in front of him. They both stand in front of a mirror and completely freak out, realizing that they've switched bodies. Soon after, they recall the wish they made at the fountain the previous night. Wasting no time, they rush back to the fountain in an attempt to reverse the switch, only to discover that it has been removed for restoration. They then head to the district manager's office to find out the fountain's whereabouts. Unfortunately, the information is not yet available on the computer system. Now, Dave is worried because it's the day for a critical merger meeting at his firm, while Mitch also has an important movie shoot to attend. With no immediate solution, they are forced to wait until the Parks Department locates the fountain, and in the meantime, they must impersonate each other. Afterwards, Mitch arrives at the office dressed informally. As he walks by the office kitchen, he notices a variety of foodstuffs meant for the staff. Mitch hurriedly starts stuffing it all in his pockets and some into his mouth. Just then, he's approached by Sabrina, to whom he passes an unprofessional comment. Nevertheless, she ignores his remark, hands him a merger file, and sends him to the meeting room. It takes him a while to get settled, which disrupts the entire meeting. Following this, one of the Japanese clients asks Mitch about some financial info regarding the company, which completely goes over his head. His lack of professionalism and legal knowledge sabotages an important merger, enraging Dave's boss. Meanwhile, Dave, inhabiting Mitch's body, arrives at a movie set and soon realizes that it's an adult film. The director, Voltan, explains the scene to him, but Dave is reluctant to perform. Despite his reservations, he ends up doing the bed scene against his will. After work, Mitch attends Dave's elder sister Kara's ballet class, where he notices her being bullied. On their way home, he asks for the reason why she doesn't fight back. In response, she reminds him of Dave's lesson to resolve fights verbally. Mitch disagrees with this approach and advises her to fight back for herself from now on. Later that night, the two best friends meet to discuss how their respective days went. Mitch admits about the unsuccessful meeting, while Dave expresses how humiliated he felt during filming, realizing that it won't work like this anymore. They drive to Dave's house to tell his wife Jamie the truth. However, she doesn't believe in them and simply brushes them off. Dave urges her to ask questions that only he would know the answers to, but when she does, Dave responds incorrectly, while Mitch provides the correct answers. Unable to convince her, Dave resorts to revealing a personal bathroom incident, which only angers Jamie further, as she believes Dave shared this private story with Mitch. Following this, Dave drives back to Mitch's disheveled apartment, while Mitch proceeds for family dinner. Unaccustomed to having a proper meal, Mitch starts digging in, appearing as if he's been hungry for days. Jamie and Kara try to get his attention, but they end up getting disappointed by his crude remarks and behavior. On the other hand, Dave receives a phone call from Tatiana, who tells him that she'll be coming over to sleep with him. Anxious about the situation, he calls Mitch, who encourages him to do it, since it's what Dave had always desired. Shortly after, Tatiana arrives and quickly derobes before getting atop Dave. Much to his surprise, Tatiana is 9 months pregnant. This revelation makes Dave hesitant to proceed, and Tatiana leaves in anger. Dave can see the baby kicking. Back at Dave's place, Mitch gets excited when he sees Jamie undressing. However, his enthusiasm soon fades, as Jamie proceeds to use the bathroom right in front of him. At midnight, the cries of the twin babies awakens them, and Jamie tells Mitch that it's his turn to feed them. Mitch initially refuses, but the enraged Jamie kicks him out of bed. Not knowing what to do, he carries the babies like sacks to the kitchen and calls Dave for help. While on the phone, the babies begin to play with dangerous objects like knives and electrical sockets, causing Mitch to struggle to keep them safe. Unable to stand this lifestyle, Mitch orders Dave to locate the fountain at all costs. The next day, Dave revisits the district office and submits a request form to locate the fountain. He gets furious when he learns that the approval process could take up to 3 weeks. He then goes to his place to share the news with Mitch. Before that, he notices Jamie in tears. When asked, she confides in him about her husband's strange behavior. She also expresses her feelings of loneliness and Dave's lack of attention. Dave is saddened by her words, but feels powerless to change the situation. Later on, he informs Mitch about the lengthy approval time, which infuriates the latter as well. Mitch declares that he can't endure this life any longer and contemplates quitting. However, Dave tells him not to give up and lectures him on being a responsible grown-up man. After a while of deliberation, Mitch agrees to play along. Following this, Dave teaches him everything about himself, including the formal outfits, his daily routine, baby handling techniques, and so on. While at the office, Sabrina informs Mitch about the resumption of the merger, which relieves Dave. Just then, Mitch introduces Dave to Sabrina and urges the two of them to go on a date. He goes on to ramble and sets up Dave on a sudden date with Sabrina because Mitch also has a crush on her. After Dave leaves, Mitch receives a call and he's surprised to hear his father's voice from the other end. Unaware of the swap, Mitch's father calls him for a brief meeting, believing him to be Dave. Later, Mitch, now inhabiting Dave's body, meets with his own father, who tells him about his second marriage. He seeks his help in convincing his friend, who is Mitch himself, to attend the wedding, admitting that he wants his son to be there. As their conversation unfolds, the old man asserts that his son is a quitter, which deeply upsets Mitch. He then takes it as a motivational factor and vows to become a better version of Dave. From that day forward, Mitch makes a concerted effort to be a better dad, adapt professionalism at work, and strike a better balance between his professional and personal lives. One evening, Mitch attends Kara's ballet performance with Jamie. He foul-mouthedly cheers Kara when she fights back the bully. That night, Mitch seduces Jamie to bed. He tries to get aggressive, as he's used to doing with other women, but Jamie wants to do it affectionately. This causes Mitch's arousal to cool down, making him frustrated. In response, Jamie cradles him, and he appreciates the comfort that he's never felt before. In the morning, Dave meets Jamie at the grocery store and asks how she's doing. She shares that she feels better because her husband has started to pay more attention to her, as well as to their children. Dave feels relieved to hear this. A few days pass by, and we see that Mitch has now adapted to Dave's responsible lifestyle. On the other hand, Dave takes full advantage of being Mitch. He spends his days watching movies, playing baseball, smoking the reef, visiting zoos, and more. However, he's still not ready when it comes to going on a date. As a result, Mitch goes to his apartment and helps him prepare for the upcoming date. Afterwards, Dave meets Sabrina at a classy restaurant. He appears pleased to see her, but Sabrina clarifies that it's not a date, and that she's only there because her boss instructed her to attend. Hearing this, Dave suggests that they leave, but Sabrina's hungry, so she tells him to stay. During their meal, they initiate some basic conversation, and gradually start opening up to one another. As they go on talking, they actually start to enjoy the evening. After dinner, Sabrina suggests doing something adventurous that they'll regret in the morning, and they both decide to get tattoos. Following a wonderful evening, Dave walks Sabrina home, and before parting ways, she asks him to call her because she has changed her mind about it not being a date. In the morning, Jamie reminds Mitch that their anniversary is approaching and plans to throw a small party. When Mitch brings up his best friend, Jamie reminds him that Dave doesn't want Mitch to join them because he's afraid that he'll embarrass him. This deeply saddens Mitch, but he hides his disappointment. Meanwhile, Dave is skating in the park when he receives a call from the district manager notifying him about the fountain's location. Dave then heads to the office to share this news with Mitch. While there, he meets Sabrina, who invites him to attend a baseball game tomorrow. Later, Dave informs Mitch about the fountain's whereabouts, but their relief seems somewhat half-hearted. Mitch expresses his wish to stay like this for a while longer because he's really working hard for the company's merger deal and wants to prove himself. Dave also agrees, and the two postpone the change-up. The following day, Dave attends the baseball game with Sabrina, while Mitch goes to the crucial meeting he had been preparing for. During the meeting, the Japanese clients propose a relatively low offer of $625 million, which is far from ideal. With limited options, Dave's boss and the company representatives are on the verge of accepting the offer. It is at this moment when Mitch notices that the other party's representatives haven't left yet. This makes him realize that the other party wants the deal, so Mitch insists on a higher offer of $725 million. After this, he makes Dave's firm representatives leave, scaring the Japanese representatives. Just as they reach the exit, a mediator stops them and agrees to close the deal at $725, leaving everyone elated. Mitch picks the mediator up in happiness, and it's very funny looking. In the evening, both Mitch and Dave's families attend a gala held by the firm to honor Dave's achievement. He's becoming partner. During the event, Jamie gets emotional by the speech that praises Dave's struggle, as well as his family values. Eventually, Mitch comes to realize that it's Dave who truly deserves this recognition, not him. Meanwhile, Dave and Sabrina are at a baseball game when a thunderstorm suddenly hits. Drenched in the rain, he takes her to Mitch's place, where things begin to take a romantic turn. As she undresses herself to get intimate, Dave notices a butterfly tattoo on her body, which reminds him of his daughter. At this point, he realizes he must not fool around like this, and leaves the place abruptly. He drives towards the gala and immediately proceeds to kiss Jamie. This confuses everyone, but Jamie realizes the truth. With this, the two friends drive towards the fountain to reverse the swap. Upon arriving, they hesitate to take a leak there because the fountain is now located in the middle of a bustling mall, surrounded by a crowd of people. Despite the awkwardness, Dave decides to proceed with the plan, while Mitch still can't get her done. At this moment, Mitch brings up the question of why Dave didn't invite him to his anniversary party. Dave admits that he was embarrassed, but he's proud of Mitch now. This relaxes Mitch enough to urinate, and the two make their wish for the swap. As before, the lights go out, and they quickly flee the scene. The following following morning, Dave and Mitch are thrilled to find themselves back in their original bodies. Dave wakes up his wife and expresses how deeply he values his family. He then gets on to his fatherly tasks with renewed appreciation. On the other hand, Sabrina comes to Mitch's apartment as she had left her purse. She apologizes for being aggressive the previous night. Mitch quickly catches up and invites her to join him for breakfast. In the final scene, Mitch attends his father's wedding and acknowledges his new spouse as his stepmother. The movie ends as Mitch, who is now in a relationship with Sabrina, attends Dave and Jamie's anniversary celebration.